Alright guys, it's time to do Blackbeard. Blackbeard, his powers, why he can consume multiple devil fruits, how he and his crew steal devil fruits. All of these questions, let's address them. And this will be very similar to my original video on Blackbeard. I honestly thought my thoughts would change after the last chapter, given the reveals and what I've already discussed in my first reaction, etc. But they really haven't. So let's start off with the relevant topic from the last chapter. It seems implied that Big Mom consumed Mother Carmel, and it also seems implied that this was the method in which Big Mom obtained Mother Carmel's soul devil fruit. If this is true, then this could possibly explain how someone may go about stealing another person's devil fruit ability. First of all, this is no guarantee, as I discussed previously, just because we don't actually see her use the soul fruit's powers immediately after consuming, we suppose, Mother Carmel. So with this being the case, then she could have simply eaten the fruit. Because we know from previous instances within the story that once somebody dies, the devil fruit's soul or spirit or whatever travels to a nearby fruit. So it could be very possible that sometime after this, Big Mom found a random fruit that had turned into the soul devil fruit and just consumed that. Given the ambiguity, we cannot be 100% certain. But you can very reasonably speculate that by consuming someone or consuming a specific part of someone, you may actually steal their devil fruit ability. And so honestly, I think I was enlightened most from Teching 101 in his review and his explanation for what is going on there. But essentially, as I've discussed in most of my soul related videos and devil fruit videos, that the soul or spirit of the devil travels between vessels or containers. Sometimes this container can be a fruit, which when the spirit of the devil goes into the fruit, it becomes a devil fruit, and sometimes the container can be a person or animal, or even an object, which the devil inside of the person or animal would then become a devil fruit user. And so basically what Teching speculated is that there might be some importance to the implication that Big Mom consumed Carmel essentially whole. Given the speculation that a devil fruit spirit or soul requires some sort of container, we could have a Matryoshka doll situation, whereas Carmel is within Big Mom, so then the spirit or essence of the devil fruit does not ever have to leave Big Mom's body because Big Mom then became its container once Carmel died. And this would essentially suppose that you would have to consume someone whole in order to do this, which would essentially never happen unless you were huge, like Big Mom or a giant or something like that, but this would not be possible for regular sized humans. I honestly like this speculation a lot. I like it, it makes things simpler, but at the end of the day, you're left believing whatever it is you really want to believe because everything in regards to the situation is completely ambiguous. I'm still reading some people who aren't believers in the idea that Big Mom ate Carmel in the first place, right? And so clearly here, there's many different ways your thoughts can go, but those are just mine. But now let's talk specifically about Blackbeard. And so Blackbeard somehow was able to steal Whitebeard's powers, and it's revealed later that he and his crew are stealing devil fruit powers from other people as well. So they clearly have some method or technique in which they can steal powers that they know and other people don't. And so based on what we know in the story, what could this possibly be? And I really think that there are three ideas. The first of which, as discussed earlier in here, is that by consuming a part of a devil fruit user, maybe their heart or something like that, that you can steal their abilities, and this would align well with Blackbeard essentially covering himself up when he stole Whitebeard's Gura no Mi. And it's also worth noting that Whitebeard specifically had a hole in his chest, so it would be relatively easy to reach up in there, grab his heart, and consume it. If it still in some way was connected to Whitebeard's devil fruit ability, then Blackbeard just has to eat that, and then he gets the Gura no Mi. This is definitely a possibility that, as stated previously, I'm not a believer in, but you could believe this, and it would make sense. It's plausible. But this is again just a suggested form of devil fruit ability transference. The explicit one that we already know of is that when a devil fruit user dies, his soul or spirit travels to a nearby fruit. I 100% believe that the Blackbeard pirates are aware of this fact, Because specifically we see Jesus Burgess in the Dressrosa art carrying around a really awkward sack around his neck, and that sack happens to have devil fruit patterns on it. And so this was not a feature of his design in the past. Something changed. What is going on here? I honestly very, very strongly believe that Jesus Burgess is carrying with him a bunch of fruit. Because it should be plainly obvious, based on rules that are undeniable, that if you kill a devil fruit user, their soul or spirit will transfer to a nearby fruit. So if you are carrying around with you a bunch of random fruit, there is at least some possibility that when you kill a devil fruit user, their devil fruit will transfer to one of these fruit. And although I believe that this is undeniable fact, it doesn't change the potential that this isn't 100% foolproof, right? And so what I find interesting about this whole situation is that each devil fruit has a very specific appearance, related to usually actual fruit that exists within the real world. And so let's look at Kaku's fruit, for example. Kaku's fruit resembles a banana. And so let's assume that Kaku died. And his devil fruit, or the devil spirit within him, transfers to a nearby fruit. Does that fruit, can it be any kind of fruit, or does it specifically have to be a banana? Can this devil fruit soul only go to a nearby banana? And so with this being speculated, right, then each individual devil fruit has a different appearance. So in order to capture the soul or spirit of the devil, if it has to go to a specific kind of fruit, you would need a very diverse amount of fruit to potentially capture it. It's also worth noting at this point that not every single devil fruit's appearance is recorded. It's mentioned specifically that Blackbeard does have a book related to devil fruit and knew that he wanted the Yami no Mi and what it looked like, but for some fruit out there, this information may not be recorded. So if you're looking to steal a potential devil fruit, for some of them, if they're recorded, you may know which kind of fruit to bring, but for others, you may not know. And so therefore, you may have to guess, and if guessing isn't an option, bring as many fruit as possible to potentially account for whatever fruit the devil fruit actually ends up transferring to, which specific kind of fruit. And so with this being said, this also lines up well with Jesus Burgess's sack, right? So if he was looking to steal devil fruits, he wouldn't really need that many fruit if they transferred to any kind of fruit. However, if each devil fruit, and specifically if he doesn't know which ones he may end up wanting to steal, has a very specific kind of fruit that it goes to, then you would want to bring as many diverse amounts of fruit as possible, and his sack definitely is large and would explain what's going on there. This could also be how Blackbeard stole Whitebeard's devil fruit. It's really interesting to note that his crew and him weren't really sure if it was going to be successful or not, and then it wasn't until that he came out and showed off the powers that they were like, well, Blackbeard is the real deal. But if Blackbeard knew what Whitebeard's Gura no Mi looked like, then he would be able to bring a very specific kind of fruit with him to Marineford in order to absorb Whitebeard powers if he planned on Whitebeard dying during that event. But for this to be true, this would suppose that the whole charade of throwing a blanket over Whitebeard and himself was just to hide the fact that what he was doing is something that literally anybody could do if they have the correct knowledge. But I don't honestly get the impression that this is Oda's style, really. This isn't something that he would commonly do. I think that the blanket actually has some relevance, like Whitebeard wanted to hide what it is that he was going to do. And this is where we're going to get into the third idea, which is that while Jesus Burgess and his crew may be able to steal fruits from devil fruit users by killing them and bringing the correct kind of fruit, Blackbeard has a cheat code which increases the success rate of doing this. And this would be the Yami no Mi. The Yami no Mi, the darkness fruit, has the ability of essentially gravity. And so Blackbeard's gravity essentially can suck anything in, even the abilities of a devil fruit user. It's seen that when Blackbeard touches someone or someone touches Blackbeard, they lose the ability to consume, or to use, not consume, their devil fruit. And so this, given my impression of how the relationship between the devil fruit and the devil fruit user, as established earlier in this video, is where the soul or spirit of the devil fruit essentially resides within the container and alters that container to become the user, then by not having powers, it kind of suggests a disconnect between the container and the devil fruit. It's almost as if Blackbeard's Yami no Mi is capable of separating the devil fruit soul or spirit from the devil fruit user. And if you take this a bit further, then perhaps he could draw it into himself. Now it seems like he was unable to do this with Ace, but we gotta keep in mind that Blackbeard wants specific kinds of devil fruit. He wants very specific powers, such as the Yami no Mi, for which it took him years to find, and he waited to consume a devil fruit for that one in particular, and Whitebeard's power, which is capable of destroying the world. And so I don't think that he wanted to steal Ace's devil fruit ability. And obviously he didn't want to kill Ace because he set up a whole series of events in order to gain power through the drawn out execution of Ace. So let me break down what I think is going on here. I think that it's important that they covered Whitebeard, because in doing so, as people have stated in theories in the past, it would create essentially complete darkness, which may improve the power of the Yami no Mi. Also, it's worth considering that Whitebeard had just died or was in the process of dying, thus loosening the connection between the devil fruit and the devil fruit user. Coupled with the complete darkness improving the Yami no Mi's powers, this might have made it possible for Blackbeard to draw the soul or spirit of the devil into his own body. But I really think this begs the question, could Blackbeard potentially steal a devil fruit ability from a devil fruit user while they are still alive? And would doing this kill them, or would they potentially remain alive? It's a great question that could lead to a very awesome scene in One Piece, in my opinion. But what I've explained up until this point is how they could go about actually stealing powers. I haven't discussed how Blackbeard is able to have two devil fruit abilities. And so a lot of people speculate that this also has to do with the Yami no Mi. But I want to point out something interesting, which is Blackbeard, as stated by the Gorosei, is the first person in history to ever have more than one devil fruit. And also Blackbeard himself states that the Yami no Mi was information about it was revealed in the book of devil fruits. So somebody previously had the Yami no Mi and used its abilities, so if it was in this book, then many people would know that the Yami no Mi was capable of allowing someone to possess more than one devil fruit. And so it's at this point that I want to mention that Blackbeard specifically targeted the Yami no Mi, so perhaps he has information nobody else had about its potential capabilities, but I really doubt that is the case. I really think Blackbeard targeted the Yami no Mi for its ability to steal devil fruit powers, and for its ability to cancel the devil fruit powers of other users. But nobody who had this fruit previously would be able to steal any abilities and keep them, because they already had the ability of the Yami no Mi, and it's stated that one person cannot have more than one devil fruit of power. So I really think what allows Blackbeard to have more than one power is something that is very specific to himself. He is the first person in the history of the One Piece world to have two devil fruit powers for a very specific reason, and it's not because of this fruit, because this fruit has been eaten previously. And this is kind of where I want to bring up the idea of the Cerberus Theory. Essentially, he ate, before the Yami no Mi, he ate the mythical zone type Cerberus fruit, which allowed him to consume two other devil fruits. I absolutely despise this theory. I mean, despise is probably a strong word. I highly am not a fan of it, because again, if this fruit existed, somebody previously would have eaten it and would have also been before him, the first person to eat more than one devil fruit power, right? It would just make sense that way. And so that not being the case, it's very unlikely that somebody could consume more than one devil fruit by eating a very specific kind of devil fruit such as this. And we should also keep in mind that at no point in time in the story has Blackbeard revealed any zone type capabilities, or specifically the zone type capabilities of the Cerberus fruit. And in addition to this, we would not even know the capabilities of the mythical zone Cerberus fruit if it even exists, right? So the idea that by consuming this fruit you'd be able to consume more devil fruits is essentially fan fiction. Somebody essentially created a fruit and gave it powers that they wanted it to have, right? And so I analyzed the manga based on details that are revealed, and while this is possible, a lot of ideas are possible, there's really nothing that specifically suggests it. So now that I've got my fix of hating on ideas, let me talk about what I actually think is going on here. And so is there any hints or any clues out there which may give Blackbeard some uniqueness, or perhaps give him the ability to consume more than one devil fruit? And there have been very specific hints. there have been hints that Blackbeard may be potentially more than one person. Marco himself, immediately after Blackbeard stole Whitebeard's Gura no Mi, commented on how Blackbeard's body has always been noticed and observed as being strange. And this ties extremely well with when Luffy and Zoro and Nami first met Blackbeard in Jaya. I honestly think it's best to just show you.
Ne, あいつ空島について何か知ってたのかも。何者かしら。さあ、それにあいつじゃね。え？あいつじゃない？じゃあ何？
あいつらだ、多分な。
どういうことよ。今のやつに仲間がいたの？どこに？ねえ、ちょっと。
Guys, it really couldn't be any more simple than that. Now, a lot of people argue about this particular scene. It's worth noting that this is exactly how it appears in all translations of the manga that I can see, but Blackbeard is more than one person. In the past, I've actually spent time trying to argue the meaning behind Zoro and Luffy's words. People speculate that Luffy and Zoro were actually referring to his crew, but it doesn't make sense. I'm not going to spend any time arguing it. It's very, very obvious to me. And when it was later revealed Blackbeard was capable of consuming more than one devil fruit, this is honestly confirmed in my mind, which is that we know that a devil fruit's soul or spirit gets locked into a particular container, whether that be a fruit or a devil fruit user. But if Blackbeard was simultaneously multiple containers, then he could potentially hold more than one devil fruit. And this aligns oh so extremely well with Blackbeard's Jolly Roger. When you see his Jolly Roger, you can see 3 skulls. And a common theme with all Jolly Rogers in the story is that they have some relation to the captain or the crew in some way. And so for Blackbeard, why would there be 3 skulls? What relation does that have with the Blackbeard pirates? And when you potentially consider the idea that Blackbeard is more than one person, then the 3 skulls on his Jolly Roger would almost perfectly depict this, and also give us a specific number for how many devil fruit Blackbeard will be able to consume. 3. And it's also worth noting at this time that the theme of 3 is very strong with Blackbeard. From his scar on Shanks' face being a 3-pronged scar, the fact that he carries around 3 pistols, from the actual Blackbeard in the real world having 3 separate names related to characters in One Piece, from Edward Teach is the name of Blackbeard, then we have Marshall D. Teach from One Piece, we have Edward Newgate, and he had a nickname known as Thatch, who Blackbeard killed in order to steal the Yami no Mi in the first place. And some people have taken this so far to suggest that Blackbeard has 3 distinct personalities. Now the real question that we have is, how exactly can Blackbeard be multiple containers at the same time? How can he be multiple people? I really don't have an overwhelmingly persuasive argument to suggest this, but I think the simplest idea, the one that I probably subscribe to, is that Blackbeard in his youth or sometime in his past was a product of some kind of experimentation. The theme of the world government doing experiments on humans has become progressively more clear as the story has gone on. We've actually seen that in Punk Hazard they experimented on prisoners who were frozen in the ice afterwards. And you could even take this a little bit further, which is it's revealed in the most recent chapters of One Piece that Mother Carmel essentially trafficked orphans, right? And so one purchaser of orphans was the world government. What would they do with them? I imagine some of them they trained and brainwashed into joining the Marines, some of which were sold into slavery for the Tenryubito, and others perhaps were sold and used for experimental purposes, similar to how Caesar Clown kidnapped kids and used them for experiments on the candy drug. Now, what kind of technology could allow the world government to create somebody who is multiple people at the same time? This is where I really don't want to speculate too hard, because There's almost a guarantee that I'll be wrong, but it's possible that they literally meshed together several people in order to create the current Blackbeard, like his arms or legs are multiple people. There's some people that suggest that Blackbeard essentially has dead twins within him, like he's some sort of conjoined twin where there are living people within him. I've also speculated at length about souls in One Piece, and it's possible that using some sort of soul technology they were able to insert multiple people's souls within Blackbeard's actual body, and that these souls in some way interact specifically with Devil Fruit, allowing Blackbeard to consume more than one Devil Fruit. But yeah guys, my thoughts are as simple as this. Blackbeard is more than one person, which is why he can consume more than one Devil Fruit. Blackbeard himself uses the Yami no Mi in order to steal Devil Fruit powers from other users who perhaps can be alive while this happens, or he may have to kill them first, and his crew can assist in this process through knowledge about how Devil Fruit's abilities transfer between fruit. But of course there's many other theories on the topic and many different opinions and thoughts and ideas, and these could be right as well, but I really like this sequence of events because it explains nearly everything while being relatively simple. But I think I and others should keep in mind that while Oda does set up things so that it's possible to predict or nearly predict certain elements of the story, he usually throws a twist in there as well, and I think we should expect something similar with this idea, whether it's related to anything that I feel confident about or specifically related to how he was able to become more than one person in the first place. But anyway guys, that's all I really want to talk about today. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree or disagree and why. Share your thoughts. Like the video if you like the video. Dislike the video if you dislike the video. Subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content. And as always guys, have a wonderful day.